Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Michelle Solis from This Must Be Ink, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Seekonk, Massachusetts. Welcome to my Friday night Stamp and Sip live. This is where the weekend starts early. So tonight we are going to be doing this little card. This is a card that, sorry, it's hard to see. Hi, Deb. This is what I'm calling the Diamond Stair-Step card. I don't really know what it's called. Hi, Lorraine. But Diamond Stair-Step works for me. So this is a card that I got last Christmas, and I have never made this card. So I was looking through cards recently and found this one and said, well, let me figure this one out. So I measured it up, and I'm going to show you tonight how to make it. So it opens like this. You've got the two panels here, but it can sit. So I'll show it to you when we turn the camera back down. And then you can put your message on the back here. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. I have a lot of stuff to show you. But first, I don't always stamp on a Friday night, but when I do, I'm stamping and sipping with all of you. So take a sip of whatever you brought and we will get started. Hi, Julie. Hi, Sharon. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Cheers. All right. I am drinking my Oliver wine. This is Dreamberry, it's called. Fancy, but very delicious. Okay. Oh, well, I should move the camera first before I move the... Wait, let me get my wine out of the way. Okay. One of these days I am going to spill it. You know that. I'm knocking on the wood. Okay. There we go. Let's get this light down. All right. So here's the little card. Diamond Stair-Step is what I'm calling it. And it sits up like this. So it's very cute the way that it sits, and you can see both of the panels. And then, as I said, you can do your sentiment on the back. And I think it's really cute to display like a nice sentiment and little image on the front here. So Alyssa made this card, and she did cardstock back here. She embossed some cardstock and then did designer series paper on these diamonds. So you can do that. You can do this with cardstock. You can put some DSP pieces back here. I'm going to show you some samples like that. But tonight we're going to make it with some fancy foil. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so let me... There we go. That's better. Now you can really see what's going on. All right, I'm blinding myself here with this light. Okay. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Jeanne. Thanks for jumping in. All right, so we're doing this Diamond Stair-Step. So what you're going to need is a card base. So your card base is going to be 4 1/4 by 11. And then we're going to need some of those little squares. We need 2 squares that are 3 by 3. Then you'll need whatever is going to go in those squares. That's going to be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Okay. So then the panels, the front panel is the smallest, and that's going to be 2 by 4. So if you're doing designer series paper, make sure you cut it 4 widthwise, and your pattern's going up and down this way. And then you need a panel for the inside, which is 3 by 4. And then you'll need a panel for the back, which is also going to be 3 by 4. Okay, so I think that's all we need. Now let's score our card base. So of course, this is all in the scoring. We're going to score at 2 1/4. We're going to get that cutting blade out of the way so we don't make a mistake and cut. 4 1/2 is your next score line. And then we're going to open our arm for 7 3/4. All right, that's all you need to do. Whoops. Okay. So you're going to get, you're going to do mountain, valley, mountain. So on this small panel in the front, you're going to do a mountain fold. So we're going to fold that back. Then the next fold will be in the middle. That's going to be valley. Fold that now forward. And then the last score line is going to also be mountain. So we'll fold that back. Okay, so you get this or this. It's like a giant W or an M. Okay, so you should have a little small mountain and a larger mountain in the back. Okay, that's it for your card base. Now your little squares, you're just going to adhere whatever you're putting on those squares. These become the diamonds for the front. So we'll just adhere this and just center that up, and then you can figure out how that's going to go on your card base when you go to adhere it. I have done one that's got like an all-over pattern. The all-over pattern is going to be the best for this card, but you can do it with a pattern that's got one directional print. Okay, so there's my diamonds. Okay, so now we're going to just adhere these panels on. So my front panel obviously is going to go right here. And I'm using foil tonight, so I'm not going to use this liquid glue because I will make a mess. All right, and liquid glue and foil don't play well together. All right, so we're going to get out the seal and see how that goes. I don't use this that often, and I'm afraid of it. I'm intimidated by seal. Okay. I just need to use it more, I think. All right, so that's my front panel. And then my 3x4 panel is going to go, we're going to skip this because you're not going to see that, right? So we're going to skip this one, and then it's going to go on this middle panel here. Sorry for the glare. I should have thought about that when I was going to use foil. But I just really wanted to because I'm using this white paper with the silver, and I thought it would be very cool with the foil panels. And look fancy and Christmassy. All right, so that should line up with that. There you go. So now you've got your steps with your foil on there. And then this panel is going to go on the back so that you can write your sentiment. So if you're going to do any stamping on this, you should do it before you glue this on. So let's stamp. We're going to put our sentiment Bright Christmas Wishes. On the back here. There we go. Okay, and then we will get that onto our card. Look at my stamp and seal playing so nicely tonight. Okay. All right, so we've got that right on the back. All right, so your card base is ready to decorate. So what we will do then is we're going to put our diamonds on. So just a couple tips for the diamonds. You're going to go from tip to tip here. So you've got your little top of your front mountain, and that's going to line up with the tip of this diamond here. And then the other tip is going to line up here. So obviously we only want to put glue on the bottom of this panel. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you're underneath the midpoint here. So we're going to just go across. Give a little bit of glue, just make a little triangle with your Stampin' Seal here. Now, this is where we have to pay attention. All right, because Stampin' Seal is so sticky, we want to make sure we line this up and line this up before we stick it down. So it should line up tip to tip here with the top of your mountain, and then this should probably meet the very bottom of your designer series paper or foil or cardstock, whatever you're putting there for that layer. Okay, so that's my first one. And then the second one is going to adhere exactly the same way. And it's going to go tip to tip as well on the second panel. Now, wait a minute. 1 second. Let's make sure they're going the same way. Okay, yes, they're going the same way. So we're going to put the glue here. I want my stripes to be going in the same direction. And then we're going to line this up there and there, and then press it down. Okay, so whoops, it does stand up, I promise. There you go. All right, so now you've got your card together, and all you have to do is decorate it. Okay, so tonight I want to stamp. I'm going to use, what am I going to use? I'm going to use a pretty poinsettias. Now you know why I wanted this to be fancy, because I'm using the fancy poinsettias. We're going to do 'Tis the Season, and I was going to heat emboss that. So I'm going to use some silver to match my foil and the stripes in the paper. So first I need my buddy. Get some anti-static on there. So my embossing powder goes where I want it to go. I'm using silver, as I said. So we're going to use Versamark ink, which is a sticky ink, which will hold our embossing powder onto our cardstock. So we're going to stamp. And when we lift this off, it's going to be difficult to see, but this is now sticky. And we will get some embossing powder on here. Just dump it on over that sentiment. And then we're just going to tap it so the excess comes off. And I think you can see that now there is kind of a gray looking sentiment, but that is the embossing powder that's on your sentiment. All right, so we're going to set this aside for the moment. I have a fan on, so I have to be careful where I put that. All right, and then you're going to use your heat gun. Give it a second to warm up. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Joan. Thank you for joining. And while I'm waiting for my heat gun to heat up, I do the back of the paper. And then once the heat hits the embossing powder, it will melt it and give you this nice shiny silver sentiment. Okay, so I wanted to cut this out because I don't want to use this whole big square on my card. So I'm going to cut this a bit just around that sentiment. Don't have to cut out all the letters. I'm just going around. Okay, and then this is the tricky part. Can I cut in a straight line? Pretty straight. This a little more rounded there. Okay, so we've got 'Tis the Season for the front. And then I wanted to use some poinsettias. So the poinsettia die, oh, I've already got it set up over here. The poinsettia dies are one of the new impressions dies. So they look like this. There's a bunch of them. Let me show you. So you can stamp your poinsettias and you can cut out the stamped image, or you can die cut them out of cardstock and you layer them up. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different layers that you can layer up of these petals. And then you've also got this leaf die. And then these are the centers of the flowers as well. So you can layer them all together. You could make multiple flowers with one pass of this is all the leaf petals that come out. So you can make multiple flowers, or you can make one gigantic bloom. Okay, but these are impressions dies. So let me tell you what that means. This is the die cut out of the paper, and it is got some veins. You can see the veins in the leaves, but it's rather flat. And then when you cut it with the impressions dies, or the impression mat, this is the texture that you get. So you can see the difference here in the little ridges. This is much more three-dimensional. So I was just going to briefly show you how that impressions mat works. So what you will do is you'll die cut first. Your impressions mat looks like this. It's kind of like a big silicone mat, but it's much thicker than your silicone mat that you use for glue. Okay, and it comes with the directions. So hang on to these because I need to look at them every time I use them. So it gives you the order in which to do your die cutting. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut the die or cut the flower using the die like usual. So let me get a piece of tape here to stick this down. Okay, so we're just going to make our normal sandwich. Does this paper even fit this flower? Yes, there we go. So we're going to make our normal sandwich, which is, let me get my machine. It's a number 1 plate, the number 2 plate, the number 3 plate, then your die with your cardstock. You're going to layer that up with the other number 3 plate, and you're going to bring the machine in here, the die cutting machine, and we're going to run that through. Okay, so that was what you would normally do. Then what I do, you need to flip this image over. So what I do is I take my number 3 plates and I just flip it over like that. Then you're going to get the number 3 plates out of the way. So you just want this die, but you want the paper to stay in there. Okay, Then you're going to take the number 3 plates out of the way, put this down on your number 2 plate. You can move this. Well, actually, I should have just left it on there. I forgot I had the tape on there. There we go. All right, so you want to leave that paper in the die. Then you're going to put your impression plate on. And we're embossing, so you're going to use the number 4 plate, which is the embossing plate. And then you're going to put that back through your machine. So we'll bring that back in. Put this through again. Now, when you're putting this through this time, you're going to see that your impression plate here is going to squish out. So it kind of comes out a bit because it's getting squished down. That's perfectly normal. And then when you take this off, you'll have your image that has this embossed texture to it. There you go. So I just think they're super fancy. I love them. And so I've made a bunch of different color poinsettias. Tonight I'm using red. All right, let me find all my petals. All right, so tonight I'm using some red ones. So I think I've got 3 layers of leaves or petals, and then I've got some leaves. I cut that one large leaf apart so that I could place the leaves where I want them. And then we're just going to use some glue to build this flower. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in the center of that set of petals, and then I'm going to line this one up on that. And then just put a little bit more glue and get this one on. That might have been a little too much glue, but that's all right because I have to put the centers in. And then you have 2 centers. You have a big one and a little one. And I like both of them at the same time. There's the big one. And yeah, I'm using liquid glue on there. And let's try not to make a mess. So we want to offset that second one. Oh, see, I had to say that out loud. All right. So there's my flower. Look how beautiful it is. I just think it's amazing. Okay, so that's going on the front of my card. And we're going to put it right here. I think I'm going to pop it up. So when I use dimensionals on this, this is going to help this all stay together and be much more stable flower. And then maybe some little ones on here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, it's going to go this way. These leaves are longer, so I'm going to put them pointing toward the middle of the card. And then we can see where we can put some leaves. Of course, because the dimensionals now are underneath there, I'm going to cut this in half. so that I can stick it under. It's not so big. We'll just get a little liquid glue on the back of that. And then we'll see where we want these others to go. Set upside down. There we go. This way. Oh, that's kind of cute. Okay, let's do that. Stick this one in here. And then this one is going to, oh, that's not going to work. Nope. I'm going to have to cut that. Hang on. And we're going to try not to smudge this glue. There we go. Let's cut this one here and see if he'll go under there. Yep, he will. Okay, so we just need a little glue on the base of that one. This is why I don't like to use liquid glue around the foil, because if I drop something with glue on the foil, it's going to smudge it and I'll never get the foil clean. Okay. All right, there we go. And then I've got my sentiment that I can put on here. So we're going to just use some dimensionals on that. But you know what? It's Christmas time. It is the time for foil and shiny things. All right, so we're going to get this on here. We could add a little bow to make it even fancier. I'm going to add some embellishments. These are the rhinestone basic jewels that I think are still available. And we can get some of these on there. These would be pretty as the center to your flower as well. There we go. Okay, so that is it. That's my Diamond Stair-Step card with the pretty poinsettias, right? Yes, pretty poinsettias, stamp set and dies. Okay, so there's that one. This is the one that Alyssa sent me that started my journey with the Diamond Stair-Step card. So there's the first one. Here's the one that we did tonight with the foil. And then let me show you some others that I made. So this one I created with the new product of the month paper. It's called Glow of Harvest. It's this very pretty soft pearlized paper that's got, this one's got some little acorn patterns on it. And then I used the Sweet Words and Labels, I think it's called, for the label. And then that set also comes with some leaves and acorns. And then on this one, I put some ribbon around. I just put ribbon around the whole panel like that. And this one I cut wrong. Don't look. This is the first one that I made and I cut it a little bit wrong, but it still stands up and it still works. Okay. Then I did one with, of course, the cute as a bug. The little bugs. I just used some designer series paper for these panels. And then I used cardstock and just basic white here. So I stamped right on the basic white. And then futzy cut some of the little bugs. And then this panel here, I did some embossing on, just to give it a little bit more interest. And then just some basic white on the back. And the last one is with this new sunflower paper. This is the Sunflower Fields paper that'll be available in September. I love this paper. So this is the front of one of the papers, and this is the other side. So I just put the pattern down here and then a coordinating pattern on the diamonds. My flower on the front and a flower on the inside. So when it stands up, you can get kind of a 3D thing here with the flowers, one in the front, one in the back. And then just a white panel on the back. Okay, so that is it for the Diamond Stair-Step card. All right, let us turn the lights over here and turn this around. No, maybe. There we go. All right, so that is it for me tonight. All right. Thank you guys for joining me, tuning in, and watching. I hope you give that card a try. I will have the measurements on my blog. I'll put them up there tonight. So that is thismustbeink.com. There's an inspiration section. Click on that. That will go to my blog. And while you're there, sign up for my email so that you can get some tips and tricks on making cards and keep up with what's going on in the Stampin' Up! World. Okay. Thanks, Courtney. I'm glad you liked it. Alrighty. So everybody have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. And stay crafty, my friends. Have a good night.